Short week for the Huskers, meaning short week for Sean Callahan and myself, Andy Kendi. It's Thursday forecast. Sean, before we look ahead, let's look back. And I don't want to dwell on last week, but what's your big takeaway a couple days removed from the thrashing they took against Michigan?
Well, I think it was just kind of a wake-up call, and I think the biggest thing was, look, Michigan's a better team than Nebraska, and no one's going to disagree or argue that point. But you still would have liked to have seen a little bit more fight, a little bit more scrap. And it was almost like Nebraska backed off Michigan, knowing they didn't have the horses to run of them for a full football game. And that's what got under the skin of Husker fans. That's what got under the skin of Matt Rule, that his team could have played a better game. He's not saying they could have beat Michigan. He's saying they could have played much better than they did. And now that's the challenge going out to Illinois here on a short week.
Yeah, Matt Rule's saying his guys played maybe of being afraid to lose or playing not to win. But he rectified that situation Sunday. They said they practiced. What does that mean?
Well, on a short week, everything's condensed up. So they went Sunday night where they were out there full pads. And I would imagine Monday as well is the same setup. But you have to kind of rework your whole week, slide everything up a day. To get the team ready, knowing that, they have a whole different schedule, and let's get going as we have to, we've got this game and we got a bye week. Mm-hmm. And I think, at that point, you'll have 7 games in at that point, but you'll be in a really good spot, if you can go to Illinois and get a win.
Yeah, let's talk about Illinois. Talk about mirror images. We got two teams at 2-3. Both teams are 0-2. Illinois having a very disappointing start to their season. I think this is an opportunity for Nebraska on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Illinois' offense, I think, has really taken a step back. They were awful on third down last week in their loss to Purdue. That was a coin flip game, a kind of a pick 'em, and they got blown out. I think there's a lot with Illinois and kind of what they do that match up well with Nebraska. So going on the road, and I'm not expecting this to be, Andy, a daunting road atmosphere. I just don't envision a ton of Illini fans all that motivated to drive into Champaign from wherever they're coming from on a Friday with the way they played a week ago and really the way they've played all year. This is definitely not the Illinois team we saw a year ago that had 3 top-level NFL draft picks in the secondary, an experienced quarterback. They're more in a rebuilding year under Brett Bielema.
Yeah, you're no doubt about that. If it was they're 5-0 coming in, that's a different story on a Friday night. I don't know how much buzz this game is going to get in Champaign. You mentioned their quarterback, Luke Altmaier. He's been struggling. There's whispers in Champaign that there might be a quarterback change. Who knows? But Altmaier, at least against Purdue, was running for his life. He was sacked 5 times, and their offensive line is sketchy as well.
Yeah, and then Purdue's head coach was the defensive coordinator of Illinois a year ago, so he had a really good read on how to attack what they did in that game. But for Brett Bielema, this is a big game because if they fall to 2-4, he really wants this program to get to a bowl game again, and this would be a huge setback for them because honestly, Andy, Illinois should have won the West last year. They were in such a great position, and they fell apart as the year went on. So for them, if they fell to 2-4 by losing to Nebraska, that would really cook their season almost at that point.
Well, let's talk about Nebraska. Any anticipation in terms of quarterbacks? Do you anticipate any changes there? Maybe is this the week we see Jeff Sims return?
It's a sensitive subject, because Heiner Carberg has done a fine job. He even played well against Michigan, but I do think that Jeff Sims was the starter for a reason. He's battling an injury. They know what kind of athlete he is. A little bit of pressure now off Jeff Sims. I think now where the season's at, where he's at, where it's at. To me, if he's healthy, I would not be surprised if we see him in this game. Now, does that mean he starts? That's the better question. But this might be the week we see Jeff Sims return out there for Nebraska.
Well, the Huskers do have some injury concerns. Luke Reimer was hospitalized with a non-football related illness. Matt Rule on Monday ruled him out, and then Cam Lenhart is a question mark. And Deshaun Singleton, though not season-ending, which is good news, but he is not available against Illinois.
Yeah, some big hits for Nebraska. You talk about the defense, Singleton and Reimer, those are 2 of your best 11 guys. And then Cam Lenhart, his status still up in the air. So those are big ones to watch. The kicker situation this week, Matt Rule stands behind Tristan Alvano. He's missed his last 3 kicks. I think Brian Buschini, too, needs to be called out a little bit. He hasn't really been up to speed for what you thought Brian Buschini was going to be for Nebraska this year. So those are all things to keep your eyes on. Will we see Josh Fleeks more at running back after his surprise 74-yard touchdown run?
Yeah, I want to ask you about the running backs because Anthony Grant, obviously his ball security issues have been a concern. going into this season, or actually as the season has developed. But Fleek showed us something, and Emmett Johnson played decently well in his limited opportunities.
Yeah, Anthony Grant with just 6 carries left the game early in the third quarter, which allowed Fleeks and Emmett Johnson to get some live action against a very good Big Ten opponent. And Michigan had their backups in there by that point too, so it made sense to get those guys going. Emmett Johnson needs more reps, but I think Fleeks, how many guys on this team can break 74-yard runs in a Big Ten football game? I mean, not very many, and I think that play alone could earn him some more opportunity.
Yeah, on his first carry. All right, how does Nebraska win this game? It seems like these teams are pretty evenly matched and similar styles.
I think their defense, if they can win on third down like Purdue did last week and get off the field, give this offense some favorable field positions and starting positions, they're going to be in good shape. I think the key, though, is they've got to get a pass rush, and it's doable this week against Illinois, and they got to get off the field on third down.
Yeah, and it's going to be a 4-quarter fight, no?
No, all these are. I mean, you look at the next 7 weeks, not one ranked opponent on the schedule. That's the first time that's happened over a 7-week period since Nebraska's joined the Big Ten Conference. 2012, they went 6 weeks in a row without a ranked opponent. Michigan would have been the 7th. They were ranked 20th. So it's rare to get a 7-game stretch like this, Andy, where you will not see a ranked opponent. I'm not saying Nebraska's going to win all 7 games, but I'm saying there's opportunities all 7 of these weeks for Nebraska to be in any of these games.
And with the bye week straight ahead, this one a huge game for Nebraska. It's Nebraska in Illinois, 7 o'clock kick come Friday night in Champaign on FS1.